Today, we have a special opportunity to sit down with two key figures who have shaped policy and will continue to shape Uganda's energy and minerals future. Outgoing Minister Honorable Ruth Nankabirwa Ssentamu, who has led the sector since 2021 through major power projects, the single fuel import policy and the path and the push towards production, and incoming Minister Dr. Musenero who steps in at a critical moment with fresh eyes on the minerals development, electricity reliability, and delivering real benefits from our natural resources. Minister Nankabirwa, Dr. Musenero, many thanks for joining us here on the Barrowcast.
Thank you.
Thank you. Honorable Nankabirwa, you're stepping out of the ministry, yet you stepped in at a very, very critical time, and you're leaving at a time when it's also still critical. What's been your journey like since June 2021?
Thank you very much. I think it has been a journey of success, and that's why today's handover has been beyond handover. It has been a ceremony that has been organized to celebrate the achievements. The background of all is in place, and this is the legal regime. The sector is well regulated. The critical laws have been enacted in Parliament, right from the amendment of the 1999 Electricity Act, which opened up the sector to independent power transmitters, independent power producers. The sector was opened up. The other critical law that we enacted was the law that allowed Uganda National Oil Company to be the sole importer of all our products. That was started, and there is nothing that the incoming minister is going to suffer with.
So you feel like you've set the ball rolling?
We've set the ball rolling, and it begins with having the necessary laws in place, because this is what the world demands. If you are generating electricity, or you are developing petroleum, which is fossil fuel, you will attract a lot of critiques if you don't have laws in place. So because we have the laws in place, we've been able to have the developments in upstream, midstream, and downstream on the petroleum side.
On transition from yourself to Dr. Musenero, you live at a time when the country is faced with high fuel prices, at a time because of the geopolitics, but you also have unreliable supply of electricity, you have weak networks, and then there is low usage of electricity by the businesses and the farms. What do you think could have happened in between there in your 5 years of service?
I think the situation would have been worse if we encountered the Middle East conflict without UNOC having the monopoly to import. The situation would have been worse. But because UNOC chose a partner who has got different sources of the products away from the Middle East, Uganda stands at a better position if we are to compare ourselves to the neighborhood in as far as sustainable energy provision is concerned. When you look at what is happening at the neighborhood, they are still grappling, they are still tied in the G2G system, which tie them on particular suppliers. For us, if Middle East is faced with a problem, Vito looks at other sources. They have refineries in different places in the world. The high prices are inevitable because the cost, the global cost of a barrel of crude oil, first of all, has gone up because of the Middle East war. So you have nothing to do. Then the refining fees have also gone up because now the few refineries that are refining are on market. Everybody's running to them. So the advantage is that we dealt away with the 3 layers of middlemen. The prices would have been higher than you are seeing now.
Right.
So I am living with Dr. Musenero a system which is already set. It is already set. It has yielded results. The country has been kept to wait. the neighbors actually cross over. When you go to Arua, when you go to Busia, when you go to Kasese, when you go to Chisoro, the neighborhood is using Uganda's fuel.
Dr. Musenero, you come in at a time when it's still also critical. Uganda is waiting for the first oil. I don't know whether you'll go by Honorable Nankabirwa's statements of first oil 2026, but overall, what is your vision? At a time like this, when you'll be handing over probably to someone else or maybe reassigned to the same ministry after 5 years, what sort of legacy do you want to leave behind? What's your overall goal for this ministry?
Thank you very much. First of all, I want to appreciate Honorable Nankabirwa because she has done the heavy lifting. She's really done the heavy lifting. She has put the legal framework in place. She has taken the sector through critical changes. Yes, they are not yet perfect, but that's going to be an easy job for me because she has dealt with those things. Now, my work is value addition. My work is to make sure that we add value. One, these new companies, the transition from Omeme to EDCL, I need to work to perfect it such that they deliver the services. My work is to make sure that we complete. Literally, she's left the oil almost out. So my work in that segment is really going to be to just to finish the few months left and have it turned on. So what will I actually add on? What actually is my vision is now that we have built the framework. Or it's like now we've built a railroad. How do we get the trains to run on it? How do we now build on this legacy that she has left and add value? How do we make sure that the power supply is efficient? She's done the tough work, but I need now to add value. She's done the minerals exploration and started in a small way the smelting. I now need to move that into value addition. I need to move the oil into value addition. We need a refinery. I really pray that that will be my legacy, that we don't only have a refined petrol and diesel in Uganda, but we are able to use all the other byproducts to build industries. So my legacy, when I'm handing over, is to see industries, is to see efficient systems, is to see us now proficient in making sure that we supply energy to Ugandans in this energy sector. She achieved a lot of milestones that were really, really difficult to achieve.
Right.
But can I add value now and make Ugandans feel confident? Can I make sure that power reaches an industry which needs it and that power does not go off in the middle of processing or whatever they are working on? Can I add value to the petroleum such that we get more money out of it? Because petrol is a raw material. Crude oil is a raw material. If you don't add value to it, at a point will come when the pipeline will dry. So that is my next assignment, to make sure that this sector drives the economy into the knowledge economy and the qualitative leap.
The country in the last couple of weeks has just faced two major national blackouts, but also power in Uganda is in supply, but does not reach many people. Many people still do not have access to power. Those industries that are using electricity, they pay high costs of electricity. The question is, what approach will you use that will work to solve these few challenges in electricity sector?
Many of our challenges of power now are not like the challenges that Honorable Nankabirwa found. Because for her, she had no power. She had to make sure that she finds the power. Now, for me, my challenge is how to make sure the power reaches where it must reach, and the quality of that power, that it is enough, it is stable, and it is where it is needed, the person who needs it. And many of those are management issues that I will begin and work on. Some of them are just simple technology issues that manage the system to make sure that we apply technology We don't have to wait. If power has gone off, then somebody has to call somebody who calls somebody. But we can use technology to detect outages, even to detect weaknesses before power goes off. The issues now are not that there is no power, that there is load shedding. The issues now are that there are some simple issues in the system which we can work on. I know, and we really apologize for that nationwide blackout. That was my introduction to the sector. But we are going to work on that. We are going to examine some of those things. That's why I'm saying to add value. So the value addition I'm talking about is not only industrial, but to make sure that the quality of service improves. I'm going to be focusing on, there are 3 subsectors, main subsectors. There is the energy, and mostly the first is really the distribution, to make sure that people who need power get it. And we will be working internally, and we'll come back to the public and let you know what we are going to be doing over the remaining part of the year to make sure that we can address those blackout issues. There are issues that we can address, actually. Right. Yes.
Honorable Nankabirwa, you have been involved in infrastructure development with different countries, our neighbors, Tanzania and then Kenya. There's been funding changes and challenges. There's been community concerns. What would you say were the biggest risks, but also challenges having to build infrastructure with the neighbors?
Well, one of the critical infrastructures that we share with our neighbors is the EACOP, East African Crude Oil Pipeline. Funding of that pipeline was a challenge because of the anti-fossil fuel campaigns that were taking place, which caused me travel to China, meeting different banks, explaining really the criticality of this midstream infrastructure. So the challenge has been overcome because the pipeline is almost at its end, and government of Uganda plus the government of Tanzania agreed to increase their equity so that work does not stall. So we put in more equity, we put in more money in the crude oil pipeline, and work continued. So that was a challenge. Then on the other side, we now have shares. We are shareholders with the Kenya Pipeline Company. We negotiated very well because we have veto powers. We are now sitting on the board of KPC. We asked for 2 slots, which they gave us. So we will begin making money out of the business through the Kenya Pipeline, and we'll be able to also control the transportation tariff through the Kenya Pipeline, and that will be a benefit to Ugandans because when the cost is high, then the end price, pump price, also becomes high. So those are critical infrastructures that are in place.
And for EACOP, have we reached a point of financial closure? Do we know when it will be completed, for example?
We expected 31st of July, which is next month, to do the technical commissioning. And once the technical commissioning is done, then we will be able to see the oil moving from pump station 1 in Hoima to pump station 1,443 kilometer pump station in Chonglien in Tanga. The marine terminal, the 4 tanks are almost done. The jetty, which is 2 kilometers into the sea, is completed. And I think by 31st of October, we shall be seeing the first loading of the first vessel done, because it takes like 2 months and 2.5 months for the oil to move from Hoima to Tanga. It takes 2.5 months. Although it is heated, but still the velocity is not that very fast. So the refinery is basically inside Uganda. It's not a transboundary infrastructure. And I know that we agreed to fund the refinery through equity. We are not going to look at debt. And the joint development agreement was signed. We expect them to have the NEMA certificate as I speak now. There was that requirement of the environmental and social impact assessment certificate from NEMA. Alpha MBM, our development partner, agreed to put in money even where government of Uganda does not have, but good enough. Already UNOC reserved money to the tune of 300 million US dollars reserved as the first installment as development capex for the refinery. So we have startup. And then the subsequent years, it will be the minister now to defend the development of this critical area. She comes from the science-based angle where she would like to see value addition. You've had her emphasize the point of value addition. So her attention is really to see that the refinery is done and that the Kabalega Industrial Park is up and running. She will have to really interface the Minister of Finance to pull through the development of Kabalega Industrial Park. We are delaying on this, and yet it is a critical petrochemical industrial park, which will really see maximum utility of the resource. Yes.
Previously, I know the country has faced challenges with private partnerships in building the refinery. What would you say has been the biggest hindrance in building and funding a fully Ugandan-owned refinery?
Of course, it is the other story of anti-fossil fuel campaign. The initial consortium, the Albertine Graben Refinery Consortium, had even to change the name to remove the word refinery to substitute it with the word energy. Albertine Graben Energy Consortium, because of that campaign against the refinery. The financing model for that initial consortium was based on capital markets. You have this project, you put it on capital markets, some investor buys in and brings money. It could not work with this kind of business, which is decampaigned. So it took us 4 years and 9 months until when we said the implementation agreement must come to an end. We opened up, and then we got Alpha MBM, who promised to bring money which we needed. So the initial challenge was lack of an anchor investor who would buy in and say, I am going to carry the mantle. Here we have that anchor investor, Alpha MBM, who said, I'll carry the mantle. I'll begin the development of the refinery, whether government of Uganda has put in money or not. We know that we can recover the money anyway. Right. So I'm not seeing really a problem into the progress of the refinery.
Interesting that you reveal that we lost over 4 years.
4 years and 9 months.
Over a campaign that should have been solved earlier. Dr. Musenero, the timelines for the first oil have shifted over years. What would you say is the most realistic date for the first oil? Okay, when you sat before the handover in a meeting with Honorable Nankabirwa, what did she tell you? What did she whisper to you? Because she first told us mid this year.
The
now
goal
we see
is to
shifting.
keep the number 26 as the year.
So for now,
the month,
now we
are refining the
middle.
dial, but the goal is to make sure that the number 26 remains as the year when our first oil comes out. You know, there are so many things which happen when you are implementing. You know, after we had gone over those hurdles of the campaigns, and then we reached that financing agreement, the work has moved very fast. But then we meet hurdles. For example, we really were on course on that timeline which she had given. Then the Middle East war comes. Now you can think that this is Middle East. It is not affecting us, but it is really affecting us. It is affecting us. They had ordered materials. Total had ordered many materials from the Middle East. Then you have to change your whole transportation. They informed me that they even have had to airlift some heavy equipment which they should have just shipped. Then, like now, small things like Ebola, the Ebola, the way it was announced, the world thinks the whole of Uganda is covered with Ebola. So some of those special experts that we need to come and finalize some things, if they travel here, they will not be allowed back in their country until we declare our country free of Ebola. So what the country needs to know is that there are so many things, so many parts to move, but we are going to keep the fire up and as much as possible, make sure that first oil is this year.
You've done a lot of good work around the Chira motors with electric vehicles, but I know for a fact that some of the parts of the vehicles are still being imported. Uganda has a lot of valuable minerals that could be used for batteries or different EV parts. My question is, what's the plan to use Uganda's own minerals to build self-sufficiency in areas or sectors like manufacturing and industry?
Well, Ruth Nankabirwa today was telling me it's good you have been brought here. Because when she took office in 2021, they wanted to export some minerals, and I was really having a message saying, no, we must keep our minerals so that we use them to develop our industries. So that's going to be one of my major priorities. That's going to be one of my key priorities. The priority minerals to make sure that, especially in the electric vehicle industry, we are going to have some key priorities to build the capacity so that we can start. We may not begin by getting everything, but slowly by slowly, we want to take those minerals to the point where we can start utilizing them for our industrial development.
Honorable Nankabirwa, on local content, what would you say is the main challenge in the oil sector for the local content that you think the incoming minister, Dr. Musenero, will have to focus on?
Local content fund has no funds. And yet the funds are very critical in preparing the local companies to be able to participate. Without the funds, to leave them by themselves will make them miss opportunities. We would have achieved a great deal in terms of the volume of work. So, Honorable Musenero, you have to put a spirited fight for the Ministry of Finance to put money in the local content fund so that the local companies can be able to participate fully. Secondly, we have to continue with training of our local people. Lack of training means missed opportunities. So you have to continue with training. Otherwise, the opportunity is there, the law is there, the law that has an affirmative action on the local companies is there. The registration of the local companies, to be able to zoom through to determine, is this really a local company? Some foreign people hide behind local companies. Because our people want money anyway, they accept to be manipulated, to be used, to front companies which are not local, but because they have nothing to do. So you really have to zoom into this to be able to determine what the local company is. Actually, we defined it when I presented the local content bill recently in the cabinet. We had to define what a local company is. And so those are the two challenges: lack of funds in the local content fund, which is established, and also the energy fund. By the way, the energy fund was reintroduced. Remember when I presented in cabinet? But there are no funds yet in the energy fund. The fund is very important to prepare projects for our own scientists to be able to do the preliminaries, like the feasibility studies. If you wait for the foreign investor to come and invest even in the feasibility study, then the project is going to be damnably expensive, because government has to put in some money to reduce on the capex. It happened in Karuma. That's why we are having Karuma power being cheap. But at that time, we had some money in the energy fund, but now the energy fund is empty. So it is created, but with no funds again.
Right.
Yes.
The government is also not putting enough money in exploration for minerals, and that also is a challenge. So they remain unexploited,
Same issue.
unexplored. Do you think it's lack of money? Do you think it's lack of political will, or our priorities have shifted over time?
The political will has been there, but we've been encountering problems. And then the priorities shift. Saving life is a priority. I remember we shifted when I was a Minister of State for Defense, and we cut 23% from all the ministries to my ministry, Ministry of Defense, so that we are able to procure the gadgets that we wanted to hit back on Joseph Kony. And when that was done, communication and night vision was provided, the war ended in northern Uganda. Issues of epidemics, pandemics, when they evade the country. COVID-19, for example, this Ministry of Energy suffered the budget cut. It was not spared. It suffered the budget cut so that we can invest in the Ministry of Health to save lives of the country. I am waiting for that day when the cabinet will sit and say, we critically need industries. They must be run by constant power. So we are going to cut 20% from all the ministries to facilitate the Ministry of Energy to be able to fast track the construction of the needed transmission substations and transmission lines, and then the procurement of the meters and the transformers that we need so that we do last mile connection. That intervention is very critical. But as you wait for that, Ebola comes. And then where do you put your money, really? So this ministry is the engine of development. The ATMs in the National Development Plan for agriculture, mechanization of agriculture, silos, storage facilities, they are powered by electricity to reduce the post-harvest losses. Tourism. Who would come here to enjoy in darkness in hotels? Nobody. Mineral development itself needs critical investment to be able to see the mines powered by electricity, because they are doing primary processing, and electricity must be constantly supplied because it affects the production.
Right.
All those critical areas identified in the National Development Plan 4 are anchored on or rotate around electricity.
Dr. Musenero, the Minister Nyamtoro will tell you there's not much money that is being invested in exploration by the government, and yet the President is seeking for a ban on exportation of raw material. How do you strike a balance in that? Because it looks like Uganda is stuck between a rock and a hard place. You cannot export the raw materials, at the same time there's no money in exploration of minerals.
The President's ban is strategic. You see, a nation does not exist only at one time segment. A nation exists perpetually, and it has a future. So at that point in time, we did not have enough money to work on the value addition to minerals. The good thing with minerals is they stay there. They are not going to rot. Because the President has repeatedly talked about our journey, the different segments, the recovery, the expansion, the diversification, and now the knowledge economy. So this is now the time. So in order for us to climb to this knowledge economy, that's why they had the emphasis. We needed a minimum reach of electricity. we will need some money, which we expect to come from oil, to give us a jack of investable capital, such that we are able to start the industries which will offtake these minerals. So I do not see this as a failure. It's realizing things because you cannot afford to do everything at once. Now that we have entered the knowledge economy, you have seen over the last 5 years, science, technology, and innovation came out of the shadows really to be a mainstream, to give us the understanding and the basis on how do we handle this. And over the past 5 years, we have worked very closely. She's working on this. When I was in STI, I'm examining the journey and building capacity, the other side, which will then now be a continuum. For example, if you start processing your lithium, but you don't understand how to build the batteries, the lithium, the cobalt, you could try, but your batteries are going to be expensive, poor quality. So that sequencing of things has been very important. So the stage that we are going in, which I believe is the stage that I'm going to lead, is to begin now to unload this value addition. It's true, little money has been invested. I remember, I think it was about 2 years ago, I saw there was just 40 billion in the mineral sector. And believe me, that is one of the things I'm really going to fight for. I'm really going to fight because the minerals are critical for our industrial development. They need money, they need investment. So there's a lot of progress which has been made in terms of aerial mapping, but now we need to do the quantification. We need to do the quantification, we need to build the capacity such that even when we bring in external investors, we have local content in those processes. And we are also able to take, because external investors will come in, they're interested in profitable, what they see now as profit. Some things government has to put in investment before the external investors can see that value. So that is going to be my struggle to make sure that the investment in minerals, because minerals are really ready cash, but the choice we had to make is, do we get the 10% of that value, or do we multiply that several times? And minerals are non-renewable. Once taken away, they'll be taken away.
Honorable Nankabirwa, as we conclude this conversation, what are just 2 things you have advised Dr. Musenero to focus on as she enters this office?
What if they are classified?
Okay, let me ask it differently. Is politics part of it?
No, she's not a politician. She's a technical person. But she has politicians, colleagues. Honorable Okasai, I've told her that Honorable Okasai has helped me a great deal on Parliament side, because I'm always in State House, I'm always opening conferences, I'm always at Prime Minister's office in meetings. Protocol demands that you don't delegate a junior to go and attend a senior meeting, okay? So at least I've tipped him to utilize Honorable Okasai to bridge that gap, because I know she's also going to go through what I've been going through, attending meetings. Investors have come, they're in the State House, Mzee wants you there. You just have to go to State House and leave Parliament, okay? And secondly, is really to make sure that the 3 companies that are supposed to be merged are observed critically, because I've been requesting for cabinet to allow us move slowly, okay? Because the sector has been going through critical reforms. Umeme is going, you've just handed over the responsibility to UEDCL, then you want to merge UEDCL with the other 2 companies. That was not going to be well. Then we mainstreamed the REA, Rural Electrification Agency, back in the ministry, grappling with the REA staff to settle them in. And then, so I have also told her that the cabinet decision was taken to merge the 3 companies. In the first 5 years, we have not been able to do so. because of those reasons is the reforms that the sector has been going through. But the next set of 5 years, Cabinet might demand that now you must be ready to merge. Then that one has to be done carefully, because we are going back to UEB. We came from UEB and we created these companies. Now we are merging to have one board to oversee 3 units: generation, transmission, and distribution under one board. So it has to be done carefully. So I've told her. The others are classified.
You have generated a lot of information, knowledge, contacts around the sector. What next for you? Are you putting your foot off the pedal completely?
Well, what I know for sure is that I will play a critical role in the energy space on the continent. That I will see invitations coming to me to attend global conferences as keynote speakers and all that. Already I have two invitations. I am seeing that, and I will be glad to do that. There is a movement we started in the Ministry of Women in Energy and Extractive Industry, where I'm a patron. We have started outreach programs where we visit girls' schools. I gather engineers like herself, she's an engineer. They go and showcase and encourage young girls not to fear to do sciences. I am seeing myself going ahead in that, participating in that, voluntarily, willingly. I am seeing myself around to play a critical role as I wait for the specific docket that the president is going to appoint me into, because I'm a senior presidential advisor designate. I don't know which area is going to assign me, but for sure I know that I'm around. With this knowledge I have gathered, I'll be just a call away to join hands with colleagues to make sure that we achieve the bigger objective for this country. Yes.
Lastly, Dr. Musenero, what does it feel like managing pandemics on the continent, and then all of a sudden you're thrown into STI, you're running a whole secretariat, creating value addition on Ugandan-made products, and then as you're trying to settle in and try to let the sector also start to make money for Uganda, now you're thrown into energy. Like, what does that feel like on a personal note?
Well, I think I'm being positioned. You know, each of us plays certain roles very, very well. I work in transition moments. Either start, like I'm given science, technology, and innovation with a blank sheet, and I create it. And she has laid, and the predecessors even before, they have laid a platform. And my work is now to transition the sector into the next level. I think my work with epidemics, my work with science has prepared me for this. It has prepared me. The other day, Thursday, after was it Thursday? No, I think Friday. That Friday, after my meetings, I go home and there's this national blackout. Now, if you are used to responding to epidemics,
that looked like one.
That looks like one. It needs a lot of quick thinking, quick what, and and because you can't rest until the problem is solved. Now, we do not only solve the problem, we must work on a preparedness plan to mitigate and a preventive plan to make sure that you reduce the chances of recurrence. So, and then dealing with multiple things. This is a big sector. It's really a big sector, different in its size from science, where I've been handling. Even at the Secretariat, I had a very small team. Here I have multiple companies. And at Secretariat, I didn't have a lot of people who are experts. here they are experts. And so it's another level where I'm really going to focus on building leaders and making sure that the leaders are leading whatever they lead properly. We have a clear vision. We meet what we promise the government and the Ugandans, and we are creating that value, building on what has been done. I don't see myself, I really can't waste time or trying to break down what she has done. She's done an excellent job. My work is to build the next level, the next ladder, the next tier. So I've been prepared. The last 5 years prepared me because I've had a long career as a technical person. The last 5 years put me through serving as a minister, interfacing with politicians, and I had never interfaced with politicians, understanding policy, and really bringing a lot of things to come together, and you deliver. So I am excited about this opportunity. I think I'm ready. I'm prepared for it, and I strongly believe, together with the colleagues that I have and the technical team and the advice. I've already booked her as an advisor. And the advice of Musenero Masanza and the others who have been here. I think Uganda is at an interesting spot, and I'm really, really privileged to be part of the team that is leading.
What do the first 100 days in your office look like?
My first 100 days, I've divided it in 3 segments. The first segment, I'm going to focus on electricity, because that's the felt need. It's the biggest felt need. I'm going to focus on the electricity. The first few days, I'm going to make sure I understand the distribution issues. And then I will go to the generation issues, and then the transmission. That's my first month. It's really going to focus on electricity. I will also spend a few days for us to figure out the reconfiguration of First Oil, and then move to understanding the issues of making sure that we really turn on ECOP. So the next month is going to focus on the oil issues and figuring out, and I'm glad I have Ruth Nankabirwa. You know, some ministers hand over and they are so angry and they don't want to support you. Ever since I was announced, she's been there. She's been there to, you know, she gets something and she's like, oh, I'd forgotten this one. You need to watch out for this one and this one. So she's there to guide, but we need to make sure that we get the oil going. And then the last month of the 100 days, I'm going to focus on minerals, to understand the mineral issues. There is a laboratory, there is the value addition. The good thing here is we have companies which do the frontline work. So my work is going to make sure that these frontline workers are clear on the vision, they are clear on what needs to be done, they are clear on the deliverables. And I understand why aren't they delivering. If they are not delivering, what are their fears, what are their anxieties, what are their obstacles. So by the end of the first 100 days, we will really have a clear, not only a clear vision of how we are moving, but we'll even have done certain things. I expect that we'll have turned on the first oil, and we will have, if not deliver the electricity, but we'll have a clear plan of how to connect the people who are waiting for electricity. If there is one single thing everybody has told me, I need electricity, from people from the village to the colleagues in parliament, colleagues in the cabinet, everybody says we need electricity. So I'll focus on those matters in that sequence. Not that I will completely leave out, but like the key focus is going to be structured like that, so that we come out with a plan that I can present to cabinet, that this is how we're going to work, this is how we're going to deliver, these are our promises. And when we make promises, we fulfill them.
Honorable Ministers, it's been a pleasure having you on the Barrowcast, and thank you very much for making time.
Thank you.
Let us know what you think about the last 5 years of Honorable Nankabirwa at the helm of the Energy Ministry, but also let us know what you think Dr. Musenero should focus on the next 5 years for the sector. This is the Barrowcast.